Welcome to Ion Franchising, where you will learn the A to Z's of franchise.
Hello and welcome back, everyone, to another fabulous episode of Ion Franchising. I am your host, Lance Graulich. Of course, you knew that. Today, we have a hot new franchise, not a surprise, inspired by hip-hop culture and graffiti. Let's talk about, let me give you a couple of hints. Purple Haze, Snooperdoodle, Pink Elephant, and Black Velvet. Yes, those are all within this concept. And yes, those are all cookies. This is a major cookie dough disruptor. You want to make some dough. This is a good franchise. Cookie plug. And I want to welcome to the show Erik Martinez, the founder of the brand. Welcome, Erik.
Hello. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for wanting to hear about my brand. I'm always honored anytime someone wants to talk to me about it.
Well, Erik, we all want to talk about cookies and making some cookie dough and making some dough all together. So let's start with the distant past. How did this whole thing come about? How'd you get in the world of franchising, and how did it become cookies?
Well, I feel like I've been an entrepreneur at heart my entire life because I was pretty much a bad employee at corporate America. Really bad because I asked too many questions. I wanted to do things differently, and at corporate America, and I have really high standards. I like to push people to be better, and unfortunately, in the current temperature society, that's not encouraged as much as it used to be. So I realized real fast that if I wanted to be anything, I had to work for myself. I probably would have made. I mean, I worked for Target, Amazon, Kohl's. I realized that just my personality in general, that probably would have held me back. I probably would have made middle level management at best, because like Target had this thing where it's be Target, right? And they had 10 different leadership expectations, and they wanted you to constantly working on how to become those 10 things. And I realized, like, hey, you know what? I can't be great being Target. I can only be great being Erik. So at that time, it was the cupcake cake decorating boom, with like Cake Boss and Cupcake Wars. And my wife, she worked at there was one in where she grew up at, in the city she grew up at, and she'd go over there to work with her mom a couple of days after her regular job, make a few extra bucks. And since I feel like I've been a retailer my entire life as well, I started asking questions like, "Hey, what type of business does this cake supply store do?" And she told me, and I was like, so then I went to go look at it, and I said, "They do that business out of this place." So like, if you know about cake decorating stores, it looks like they put things on the shelf, they shake up the store, and then they open the doors, and then people come in and buy all these cakes. So I was like, you know what? I think we could do it better. So we opened a cake store called the Cake Walk back in 2012 in Redlands, California. And over the next 6 years, we opened up one every year for 6 years. So I felt like, you know what, I'm doing pretty good, right? Like, but at the same time, cakes weren't really my thing. It's I grew up in the 90s listening to hip hop, and I was like, here I am doing cakes, and the cakes were really successful. But I'm like, we got to do something better, something more for myself. So we fortunately, I was able to travel around to visit different cake stores, different cake conventions, and every time I just go try cookies. And there's this one in particular in London called Ben's Cookies, and they had like this 300 square foot storefront that you couldn't even walk in. They're just selling the cookies right out the front door.
In London?
Yeah, in London.
Wow.
I was like, that's pretty cool. So I got in line. They had a line, probably about 15 people deep. I got some cookies, and I'm like, oh, these are all right. So then I just tried different cookie shops, and I was like, no one really makes it a cookie that I liked. And since I was in the cake and candy supply business, I had all the ingredients. So I started making some cookies. Customers would come in, my employees would come in. We'd have throwdowns of who made the best cookies. I'd always win. Sometimes the customers would get mad and be like, "Oh, you cheated," or the employees would be like, "Oh, I quit," because they didn't want to lose.
It got pretty rough in these competitions, huh?
Yeah. The full on Bobby Flay throwdowns. So I knew I wanted to do that. But then when I looked at the landscape, I was like, there's nothing cool about any cookie shop out there. They all just kind of blend in. Um,
Gotcha.
so I was like, you know what? Let's put a gangster twist to it. Since like I said, I grew up in the '90s listening. My first CD I ordered from the Columbia House, where you get 10 CDs for a penny, and you're supposed to pay later. I don't think I ever paid, but I got the CDs, popped it in. My mom was like, "What are you listening to?" But so I was just like, you know what? And the plug, right? So we got cookie plug, and plug is a relatively new word that's really in with the young crowd. So I was like, cookie plug. We tried to like cookie connect and cookie cartel and things like that, but like, oh, cookie. We were like, let's just throw some graffiti on the walls, play some hip hop music, and see what happens. And
Love it.
we opened the first one, connected to our cake store in Riverside in May of 2019. It was just it was literally 6 by 10, so 60 square feet. And we just started selling cookies. We opened the day before Mother's Day. I think we did like $200, and I was like, oh, okay. And at that time, our cookies they were probably like 6 inches, and they were real thin. And so next day was Mother's Day, and nobody came in. And I'm like, okay, well, let's just stick to it. And slowly, when we opened the first one, we were barely doing like $400 or $500 days. If we did 700, I was like, oh, that was nice. And then in my hometown of Redlands, in November of 19, I came across a little 600 square foot building that was downtown, and it was $1,300 a month. So I was like, hey, let's just see what happens. Let's open our second one. So I was like, I can't go wrong here. So we opened it, and at that point, it just got viral. Went viral. Like, we had lines out the doors at both locations.
And what do you think caused it to go viral? Obviously, the fact that you did things differently. You certainly had a unique decor, but what do you think really sparked it?
Yeah, so I think we're just so different from any other cookies out there on the landscape. We made it more fun. Like, it's more of an experience when you come into the cookie plug. It's not like a lot of the other ones we walk in and it's a white wall with black writing, or a white wall with teal writing, or whatever it is they do. That just makes it so boring, right? Like, yesterday on LinkedIn, I was like, great brands aren't for everybody, and I truly believe that. Like, the cookie plug needs to be the cookie plug, and that's why it works, right? Like,
Yeah.
So it's polarizing to some, because they think, they're like, oh well, you're promoting hip hop. Some of the names are connected to the cannabis industry. Well, why you the purple drank, right? So that upsets some people, and I realized a long time ago that if you try to make everybody happy, you're gonna end up making nobody happy.
Absolutely.
So I got a DM in Instagram the other day. They're like, hey, I walked in, and there was explicit language on some of the music, and I said, hey, you know what? I appreciate your feedback. I definitely appreciate you coming to check us out, but this is who we are. This is what we have an option for the franchisees to display explicit or not, and they chose to go with the explicit. And we're going to stay true to who we are. Once again, I appreciate you for coming in. And she actually wrote back, and she's like, I respect where you're coming from on that.
Yeah.
Right.
I love it.
Now in society, everyone is so worried about being canceled that they get bent over by everybody every time they get a little complaint. And that's not who I am, and that's not who the Cookie Plug brand is. I joke around all the time when someone's mad. I'm like, well, hey, go ahead and cancel us, right? Like, I'll take that free promotion. Like, tell all your friends about how terrible the Cookie Plug is. They get music in because we have a cookie called Purple Haze. Like, if that's the biggest thing that you're mad about, like, one, your life isn't that bad.
Yeah.
And two,
exactly.
If you want to tell your friends about us because of that, then I welcome that. Thank you.
So wait, Erik, I gotta take you back to something you said earlier. What really, like, you got into cakes and then you got into cookies because you saw it as an opportunity. What was your baking experience through this whole process? None. You just figured it out on your own.
Yeah. So I'm not culinary trained. So here's the thing, right? So I tell people all the time with the cakes, right? Like, I didn't know anything about it, but getting into it when I got into it, but you have to honor your craft. So can I tell people how to bake a cake? Yes. Can I tell people how to decorate cakes? Yes. Could I tell people how to make French macarons? Yes. I had to learn those things through the process because you got to honor your craft,
Yeah.
right? So did I pick up on things on how to mix ingredients and how to do things? Sure. Now, when we came up with the cookies, like how they end up now with 4 inches and they're like 4 inch wide by 1 inch thick, that was just me. Like, we got to be different, right? Like, I want it to be. I don't want anyone like you see the lawsuits with the other ones where they're suing each other because they say they're copying each other. And I always joke around because I'm like, no one could say we copied anything about them.
I love it.
We copied them. So
Yeah.
we that was just my thing. And kind of what I mentioned is the polarizing effect. I think is what makes it work.
Yeah.
And you saw like how the Super Bowl was so big last year with Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre and all them, right?
Yep.
Like that's
Old school rappers you don't see together often anymore.
So whether people come out and say right away that they're down with it, like you just saw by the response of the Super Bowl, like how many people love the culture.
Yep.
They just
I mean,
love hip-hop.
look, Eric, I've been an experienced franchisee and helped on advisory councils, and I love what you're doing, because at the end of the day, whether doesn't matter what brand, McDonald's or Chick-fil-A, and Chick-fil-A's had its share of controversies, as stick to who you are. If that's what you believe, you're not going to appeal to everybody no matter what. And you might appeal to more people because of what you are doing. And obviously, I can't believe you have 23 corporate locations. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I can tell you that. So like I said, we opened the first one in May of 19. We opened the second one in November of 19. And then we opened the third one in February of 2020. And then, as you know, in March of 2020, the pandemic hit. And when everyone was pulling back, I was like, oh, now's the time. We got to push forward.
Yep.
Now was the time. And so from May of 2020, the last 2 weeks of May of 2020 until the end of June of 2020, we opened one location every week. So we did 6 locations in 6 weeks. And then we opened up 3 more at the end of the year. So at the end of the first year, we had 12. And then in 2021, we opened another 10. And then
that's awesome.
In January of 2022, this year, was our last corporate store that we opened. And that was in Miramar. And so since then, now we've opened the 4 franchise locations, have 4 more scheduled to open in December. And then we've sold. I don't even really keep track of it anymore. It's in the mid 100s, I think.
It's great when you can't count. So right. well over 100 locations sold, and in some phase of development, looking for locations, what have you. Let me take you a little bit back. So where did franchising? How did that all come about? Because you're building corporate locations. At some point, you thought about franchising. How did this come about?
Yeah. So when we got hot, right, everyone started asking like, "Oh, is this a franchise? Is it a franchise?" And I'm like, "No, this is just my corporate stores." And I had never really thought about it. And I guess I kind of had that ego where it's like, I don't want to let anyone else do this. It's just my thing. And I probably do it better than anyone. So I wanted to hold on to it, right? But then so I was like, well, maybe we could license, and we looked at that angle. And then I met Chris, and Chris was like, hey, let me explain to you how it actually goes. And so the thing with franchising that I wasn't expecting is that I was really fulfilled opening my corporate stores. Like, I felt really accomplished. Like, I was proud of that. But like Connie, our first franchisee, she was a check cashing manager in Vegas, and watching her and helping her build a location, and now watching her be able to accomplish the things that she wants to accomplish, like that's fulfilling for me at a whole nother level that I wasn't expecting. So now I'm like, I don't want to open any more corporate locations. I just want to help other people win. So
let's talk a little bit about Connie. So, some of the hardest things for people like yourself is, okay, you open some corporate stores, you're successful, which is amazing. And it's a perfect sort of runway or template to launch a franchise system. But then you start to involve other people. They're putting their hard-earned money into the brand, and you have to make sure you pick the right people in the first place.
Yep.
You don't want it to be like a bad marriage, So how did you find Connie? I mean, because the first franchisee it's like the first baby.
Yeah, yeah. So Connie, she loved the brand, right? And now in retrospect, do I feel like she probably would have been qualified for where we're at now? Well, probably not. But
Right.
I'm glad that she's a part of it, and I wouldn't have had it any other way. Were things a little more challenging with someone that was inexperienced as her? Sure, right. But that's also the fulfilling side of helping someone come from here and getting it over there. Um, so yeah, Connie's been a great. She's a huge advocate for the brand. And then
Love it.
watching her win and learn things as she goes, right, and then watching her stumble and then learn from it and then make the adjustments. Those are the things that are really cool, right? To me to
Love it.
watch. And now we have like these guys here that Acai Express that um, they bought the entire island of Puerto Rico, and then watching them operate and right.
So
So we
wait,
get both sides, right? So
share a little bit about that for the listeners out there. Eric is actually in Puerto Rico right now in the office of Acai Express, which is another franchise system, and they are franchisees of Cookie Plug. So Eric's visiting them there right now. You know, the entrepreneur that he is. I'm sorry you had to go to Puerto Rico. It's just terrible.
right.
I love Puerto Rico.
Yeah, no, so my mom's Puerto Rican, so I always say like I manifested this because in our stores we have some Puerto Rican imagery of the Coqui frog. And they just came out in California because I guess they were looking for a cookie brand, and they met us and they walked into our conference room and there was the big Puerto Rican flag with the Coqui, and I was like, how could you not, right?
It was meant to be.
Yeah. So they just leased a couple locations out here. So I told them, hey, I'd come out and check it out, help them with some of the design and how to set up their store, um, and then kind of talk through because like in Puerto Rico, there's like a big trailer type, container type
Yeah.
units.
Shipping containers.
Yeah, yeah. So we kind of wanted to see that, and then just kind of see if that would work for us. And the drive-throughs are real big on those, so um, it's been a great experience. Like seeing how they operate, a lot we can learn from. Um, I mean, I'm going to take more away from here that they gave to me probably than what I gave to them because uh, they just have so much experience. Because I think they've been I think they started in 2013 and they've been franchising for a little bit longer than us. So.
But you know what, Eric, you hit on something important a lot of people don't realize. There's a lot of people that I talk to that say, well, I don't need a franchise. I can do it on my own. And I look at them and I smile because I've done it both ways. And I say, well, there's a lot of time and a lot of mistakes and a lot of money that you have to invest in figuring it out on your own. So if you want to find that blueprint that's right for you, just like the guys at Acai Express did, you know, it's a shortcut to success.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree, right? Like, if I keep you from bumping your head up against the wall, then I would love to be able to do that.
Yeah,
And at the same time, I mean, any good franchisee is a strong entrepreneur, which also makes them stubborn, and they also think they know everything, just like I think I know most things, and so those are always good conversations to have to get
yeah,
involved with, right? Because iron sharpens iron, right? So
that's it.
um, I love having those conversations of being like, um, because we have a bunch of other experienced franchisees, and then they're like, oh well, why don't you do it this way? And I'm like, well, because we've done it this way, and I'm not saying that what you're saying is wrong, but my thing with my staff and everyone too is if you're going to give me an idea, like that can't become my idea because I have thousands of other things going on. So if you have an idea, then show me, and then if you can execute on it, then yeah, let's move forward,
Yeah.
right? So
But you know what,
yeah,
Eric, as your franchise system matures and you have talented franchisees and talented team members, you guys will continue to evolve your system. It
yeah,
happens all the time because you're a smart guy. Collaboration is the key, and you don't have every last original idea. You had a lot of great ones, which got you to this point. But
yeah,
that's the beauty of the franchise system. Let's talk about who you're looking for today as a franchisee. You got hundreds of locations that are opening soon. So you've already had an amazing amount of success. People are seeing and obviously tasting the success of Cookie Plug. Who are you looking for? How much is an average location to open, and who are you looking for?
Yeah, so I think that's what definitely gives us the edge over a lot of the other ones is our initial investment is quite lower. Like Connie, she only put in 75,000 and she got her location open. Uh,
Wow.
yeah,
What was their square footage roughly?
she has 1,100 square feet. So we're really aggressive with our negotiations. Like she got 6 months of abated rent, so she by the time she starts paying rent, she's already gonna recoup all of her investment,
Love it.
which is awesome. And I think that's what led to our success in when we started is we just took the money from one and put it in the next, and took the money from one, and we never had to take any money from anybody. We just reinvest what we had, and I think that's what a lot of people these days struggle with is the delayed gratification. Like I'm good with taking less now to make a whole lot later. And that was kind of the strategy that we did with when we were standing out Cookie Club. We're like, let's just reinvest it all and
Yeah.
eventually pay off.
Yeah, there are other franchises. To your point, there are other franchises. You're not going to open it for less than 350,000,
Right.
maybe even
Yeah.
500.
Yeah, and then that's kind of the conversation I was just having with these guys because we were looking at different counter finishes and things like that, and I'm like, my challenge to any of the franchisees, I'm like, one, do you think is it gonna make a difference? Like, is it gonna result in additional sales to spend 20,000 on a counter, or to spend versus spending 5,000 on a counter? And two, I would never ask a franchisee to spend dollars that I wouldn't spend myself. So are there some elements of cookie plug stores that maybe aren't as refined, or are polished so far? Sure, right. But I think that's also um, is kind of the cookie plug in general, right? It's not the brand in general isn't as polished. Like when we first started, um, Chris was like, "Hey, I think we should tune down the Instagram a little bit." And after about 2 months of that, I was like, "Our Instagram sucks. It's terrible now." I'm like, "We need to go back to what we're doing, because that's what works, right?"
Right.
And the thing was like, "Well, franchisees don't like it." I said, "Yeah, but the people that buy the cookies do like it. So if we're not appealing to the people that buy the cookies, we're not gonna have any franchisees anyways.
Yeah.
So we need to stay true to who we are, and just continue to march to the beat of our own drummer. And you know what? I've always believed that, like, if you stay consistent, if you're good enough, like, your tribe will find you, right? Like, um,
Yep.
right people will come, and the wrong people will might take a look, and then they'll go, and that's fine, right? Like, I've never been offended by anyone that said anything about the Cookie Plug brand. Like, there's nothing anyone could say where I'd be like, "Oh shoot,
Yeah.
I can't sleep tonight," right? Like, I'm just like, "All right, it's not for you. It'll be for someone else," right?
Yeah. Yeah. So tell everybody who Chris is, because you mentioned Chris a couple times. We didn't talk about who he is.
Yeah. So Chris Weiland, he's been in the franchise business for about 20 years. He handled all the development of the sales of the franchisees, and as he moved on from Roll 'em Up, he was a chief development officer at Roll 'em Up, and so he took on the position of CEO at with the Cookie Plug, and he's focusing on Cookie Plug now full time, and we've definitely seen the results and sales just kind of take off. We're not kind of now that he's no longer splitting time between the two brands.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Chris is a great guy. So in the process, you'll obviously, if somebody's interested in a franchise, they're going to talk to you. They're going to talk to Chris. Is there a process where you have to force feed them all the cookies to make sure they like them? What do you do?
Yeah, so I think the typical name is Discovery Day. We
Yes.
probably changed it to Initiation Day to kind of go more with the brand. So yeah, they come out, they try the cookies, they tour our stores, um, and they just really get the whole vibe. And I like to meet with all the franchisees because I want people to know who I am, because obviously, like, I'm part of the deal. So if you don't like me, then you should probably not sign up. But if you do, then let's go. Right.
Big Daddy, the franchisor, Erik himself. So you obviously make money at a cookie plug, and you signed up all these franchisees. So I would venture to bet when people see the low cost, and everybody knows there's great profitability in selling a cookie. I would imagine that is something people are quite happy with. They're making some dough.
Yeah, we've made it so easy. We have centralized production, so which definitely reduced the cost of the equipment that's needed in the store, which also gives us more consistency across all of our cookies at all the locations nationwide. So we've made it super easy. Plus we have 17 cookies. We have 12 flavors that are available every day. Plus we have one secret stash which is available for a month. Like this month, it's called Snow White, which is a cranberry pecan cookie. And then we have 4 keto cookies.
Got to do your keto.
Yeah, and then
but no cannabis, right? No, you're not doing any of that.
No.
Just want to make that clear to everybody out there.
Yeah, correct. Although some of the names might infer it, it's not. It's all just for fun.
Family friendly.
Yeah, 100%. We say 100% kid friendly and mom approved.
Got it.
Yeah.
So where are some of the hot areas that might have surprised you? I know you can lose track easily because you've sold so many franchises, but where are some of the hot areas you're surprised you haven't sold yet? Give me 1 or 2 areas.
Atlanta, this brand's gonna kill Atlanta because hip hop is Atlanta's culture. Houston, those are 2 that I'm like, I would not sold there yet. Those they would kill there. So I think there's a couple deals that might be coming up, but nothing concrete. But we just did some in Miami, so it's gonna do great there. Like obviously the culture in Puerto Rico, like it's gonna kill here.
Love it.
But I mean Atlanta and Houston, like someone got to get on board with those ones.
So what's the goal in the next few years? How many locations open?
Well, see that's always an interesting question because when I opened my cake stores and we were looking for the second location, my realtor was like, "Hey, how many of these do you want to open?" I said, "Hey, maybe just 5, and then I feel like I could ride off into the sunset, right?" So looking back, right, like that was such a low bar that I had set for myself, right? So like I don't want to set a number. I just want to see how far we can go if we just do our very best, like our real best every day, like everyone on my team. So wherever that takes us, right? And people are like, "Oh, do you want to? Are you trying to compete with Crumble and do thousands?" I'm like, I ain't trying to compete with Crumble. I'm trying to compete with General Mills, right? Like I don't. That's how big I want to be, right? Like I don't want to. I'm looking so far out. That's like how can we just be? What's most important to me, and kind of what you mentioned earlier is we're going to be an authentic brand, and I think the U.S. and society right now is wanting to see more authentic brands. Right now, all the brands are just trying to blend in, not make any waves, and they lost that authenticity.
They're homogenized.
Yeah, 100%. I think people are hungry to support authentic brands, and I think we'll start seeing the shift in our culture back to that, rather than everyone being upset about every little thing about you did something 10 years ago and they don't agree with you on it. Now they're going to hold your feet to the fire. It's like,
Erik, I love what you said earlier too, and it goes right into that authenticity. Some people think that all franchises, hate to use the expression, cookie cutter, where they're all exactly the same. You're allowed in a franchise system, you being the franchisor, can give people some flexibility. And I love that you give the flexibility on the music. It sounds like there's some flexibility on which of the cookies you're picking every day. You just get to pick, you have to have at least 12 every day, right?
Yeah.
And there are some that you can rotate differently based on what region or area you're in, right?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So I was with Krispy Kreme Donuts a million years ago. We were the second franchisee, and maple was one of those things, like a maple donut. Nobody ate on the West Coast. I was in Las Vegas, And but then all of a sudden people started asking for it. Maple became popular. So guess what? Took out the recipe card and started making maple donuts as one of the options. So it's crazy how that happens, right? And tastes change.
Yep. We actually went to a Krispy Kreme at the San Juan Mall yesterday because they were telling me about what type of numbers they were doing, and they're looking at putting a cookie plug in the mall there. So
yeah, no doubt. Malls are a good spot. So when you look at the cross section of people that you brought into the system that you got to meet, what do you notice they all have in common? You got a lot of people signed up, putting their hard-earned money into a cookie plug. What do they have in common, all these franchisees?
I would say that they all just wanted something a little bit more outside of everything else that's out there. When I talked about it, everyone's just like, I love how the brand is so much different than anything else out there. It's not even close. And that's what they all. That's been the common theme of everyone is just like we love it. We love how it makes some people mad. We love how it makes some people dance, right? Like that, right?
So you have, I would also imagine there's a pretty wide age gap. You probably have some really young franchisees that borrowed money from family perhaps and really wanted to do this badly. And then you have, probably some older folks out there too.
Yeah, and I would say this from the diverse background of people that have bought into the brand that I wouldn't necessarily have thought that they would have taken interest into it. They have, and so that's been pretty cool too. Of how the more everyone tries to say we're different, the more we're all the same. That's what I think hip hop does really well is like it brings different cultures. It brings different cultures together.
Yeah. So what's next?
Um,
Who do you have? How has your team grown through this process? Because I mean, shoot, with just 23 corporate locations and all these franchises opening, got to have a hell of a team at this point.
Sure. Yeah. So fortunately, I think that's actually a blessing that we have the 23 corporate locations because we had a lot of people that are homegrown with us that understand the brand, that understand how we do things, that
That's awesome.
have the mentality of zero compromise and are willing to. And now it's a great opportunity for them to grow into other roles and take on bigger and then help them accomplish the things that they want to accomplish. So we have a lot of people that have come out of our corporate stores that are like, what do you need? Let's do this. And we've been building training teams. And so since they already know it, right? Like it's already there. Right. So obviously.
And by the way, sorry to cut you off, but I do want to talk about that next is talk about your training, what's required of all new franchisees, as well as, what you're obviously doing for marketing. Obviously you have a unique brand that stands out, which certainly helps as well.
Okay. Well, the training, we do a lot of hands-on, like we visit, so far we visited every location before they open. We help them through that. And then prior to that, the franchisees come out to the stores. Depending on their experience level, they spend 3 to 5 days in our corporate stores learning the process. And then the week of grand opening, we go out there. So we've been doing our soft openings on Thursdays, grand opening on the Saturdays. So we show up on the Monday before, we help them prep, we help them go through, we do baking, we do the soft opening, helps them get ramped up, and then we stay until the following Monday. So normally we're there for like a 10-day period to help them get going, and that's kind of worked out pretty well.
Love it. Talk about marketing now. So obviously the uniqueness of what you do and how much you stand out. How are you getting the word out these days? Obviously social media. You have very a great visual products to look at that people go, wow, I want that.
Yep. So we're definitely really heavy on sponsored ads on social media, and we're right now we're currently working on getting billboards in all the locations in all the cities that we're have locations on.
You said getting what?
Billboards.
Billboards.
Yeah,
very good.
And then there's a ton of influencers that love that are always reaching out to work with us. So those I'm very particular on because I want to. Most of the time, influencers just want free stuff.
Yeah.
So just being picky on that, and also like who they are and what they represent, right? Because I mean, I think it's important. Even though they might have 1 million followers, if they're not on brand of the cookie plug, then that don't matter to me, right?
Yeah, you got to find great people to partner with, and you got a great head on your shoulders, so you know that for sure. So, final thoughts, words of wisdom for the audience. I mean, look, I talk to people all day as a franchise broker. They're like, I don't know how I know which is the right franchise for me, and obviously, I take them through my process. But man, you guys are unique. You guys are fun. You guys are low cost. There's a lot of people, you show them a home services brand, they're like, ew, that's not sexy. I don't want to do that. And people love the food business because it's they think it's a sexy business. Would you say it's a hard business to operate?
Look, I would say I'm the business. What do I say? I say it's it's simple, but it's not easy, right? Like we made it so simple to operate, but you got to be willing to do the work, right? Like, and I think that's what most people just in general think they could just come and throw 100 grand at it, open it up, and think that it's just all going to happen for them. And it's like, no, you got to do the work. You have to inspect what you expect. Like you have to set the tone for your team, right? Like those are the things that are really important to me. Like I would any potential franchisee that's going to come across to me as an absentee owner, I just say no, right? Because I think that's going to damage the brand. So to me, it's important. Like, okay, yeah, you're experienced, and yeah, you have great people in place, but you got to show me, and maybe those processes all get in place in 30 days, 60 days. But if you think that we're gonna build a location and this is gonna be all sunshine and rainbows after that's I don't think that's real life, and I think that's short sighted.
Yeah. So are a lot of the investor types hiring managers, or you're just not allowing, unless they're not, you want them to participate for a period of time, right?
Yeah, definitely. And like we down in Texas, we got a guy. He owns a bunch of Subways, and he introduced us to his manager, and I feel comfortable with that, with him having him do that. And so I would just say it's case by case basis. Like we just got to feel
Yeah.
comfortable. I think we got to get to know each other and understand. Like here's the thing, right? Like everyone has holes in their games, and people just need to know where those holes are.
Yeah.
And so if someone isn't aware enough to know where their holes are, then I think we have bigger problems. But
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Erik, any final thoughts for today for the audience? You've delivered some great information, so I love sharing your story.
appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, if you want to come over and anyone that wants to come over and win and be the anti-culture of cookies, like that's the cookie plug, right? Like as you mentioned, it's a low cost, it's a simple operation, but if we're willing to do the work, like let's win together. And I want to help. I only win if my franchisees win, and that's not missed on me at any moment. Like anytime someone wants to talk to me a brand, like about my brand, like that's not missed. Like I appreciate it. So I want to do whatever I can. Kind of what you mentioned earlier is like I don't take it lightly that anyone gave me money to invest in my brand. Like that I don't take that lightly at all. People are counting on me. People invested their hard-earned money, and the very least I could do is help them win with all I can, right? Like and I always say, like, as we're growing, right, people always start talking about limitations or what can you do, and I'm like, look, those are your limitations. Keep them. Like we're going to work our face off to make sure everyone is successful, right? Yep. So you might have your limitations, but those aren't mine. So keep them over there.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Well, Erik, you've been awesome. Erik Martinez, founder of Cookie Plug, who I'm calling the Cookie Disruptor. Thanks again, Erik, for being here.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you very much for listening today. Please like, follow, and subscribe. This is Lance Graulich. Until next time.